Orlando, Florida is not just the place I call home, it is also one of the world's top vacation destinations. Every year, millions of people visit the City Beautiful to enjoy our world-class theme parks, other tourist attractions, and our vibrant local scene. Sadly, in 2020, we had to shut the whole thing down, and you know why. But today, we're bouncing back, and you're about to meet the man who's tasked with keeping it all together. And with all of that, he still finds time to be the biggest cheerleader for his wife, Congresswoman Val Demings. Orange County Mayor Jerry Demmings, it is an honor and a pleasure to have you on All Things Men. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and thank you, Mark, for inviting me to participate in your show. I look forward to the commentary today, and we will be our authentic selves during this process. So thank you again for inviting me.
Mr. Mayor, you handled the pandemic very well. The theme parks, for people who don't know, it's Walt Disney World, it's Universal, it's SeaWorld. You kept them closed until it was right for them to open, with people clamoring for them to remain open. How'd you do that?
First, I acknowledge the fact that this was a healthcare crisis that we were talking about. And I wanted to ensure that every decision that I would make in my capacity as mayor, and therefore the emergency manager for the county, to those that we would make as a board of county commission, to those that we would make in collaboration with the community. I wanted to ensure that we got participation at all levels, and that we use the facts, the science behind those decisions that we would make. As a result of that, I believe that we contained the virus early on and slowed it down. However, as we plan to reopen businesses here, I called upon some of the brightest minds in our community, thought leaders from the philanthropic community, I'm going to say the private sector, nonprofits, as well as public sector experts. So we all came together and looked at what we needed to do, and we charted a course of action for our county that was unique to our county, that worked for our county. We were one of the first communities to get back open, where we were doing and hosting conventions at our convention center. We had the experiment of the professional sports bubble at Disney with where the NBA and Major League Soccer were hosting games there. And from that living lab, we were able to get some data that will help to solidify how the sports industry will re-engage around the country, perhaps around the world, because of what happened here. So that is how we done it, Mark. That was a long way to answer your question, but I just wanted you to know that it was very comprehensive in our approach.
Sir, how did you get into public service?
Wow, that's a story in and of itself. The short answer here is that I left the private sector when I graduated from college from Florida State University. Ultimately, I became an accountant. I went into the finance world and I did that. But I had a passion for wanting to go to the federal law enforcement service, and I was looking at the FBI or the CIA at the time, and in 1980 they went into a hiring freeze. So I went into the accounting world, and at some point a recruiter suggested to me that I might consider getting some local law enforcement experience, and I applied to the Orlando Police Department, got hired. I intended to stay there a year and then move on to the federal service, but I fell in love with being of service in my very own hometown, and I stayed for a full career and was able to ascend to chief of police in Orlando. And then I left that job and became deputy county administrator and director of public safety for Orange County for about a 5.5-year period of time. And then I ran for Orange County Sheriff. I have served for nearly 3 terms as sheriff. Then I ran for mayor of Orange County, and here I am today. in my third year as the mayor of Orange County. So that's how my public service career has gone. So it's been 40 years now.
Mr. Mayor, I bet you've been asked this question 1,000 times. How you met your wife? I will ask that, but I want to know when you first saw her. Do you remember what went through your mind?
Well, there's a couple of occasions when I'm going to say I remember meeting my wife. First, we both were at Florida State University at the same time. My wife finished from the FSU School of Criminology in 1979. I finished from the FSU Business School in 1980. I did take a few criminology classes, so I actually first laid eyes on my wife at Florida State University. We had mutual friends, but I lived off campus. I was in a different school there at FSU. It was a large institution. The real moment that I met my wife, where we had a personal exchange, we both were at the Orlando Police Department, and I had been on the agency about 3 years when she came on, and we were working a mutual case, an investigation involving a culpable negligence investigation in which a young man ran over a small girl on a go-kart on a sidewalk and caused severe injuries to the child. As a detective at that point, I was assigned the case to do follow-up, and my wife was the original investigating officer. My wife came up and met with me as part of the investigation, and she was challenging some of the comments that had been made by the supervisors, and she was bold. And if you know my wife, a lot of people know her. She, even though I was a senior officer, this rookie was coming up, that was very bold. And so from that, that was the first time where she remembers we actually had a significant exchange. That was maybe not the most pleasant exchange, but from that, we became friends. We played on the various teams that supported the Police Olympics, and we were involved in sports, and sometimes we played on the co-ed teams together, and we became friends that way, and ultimately we got married in 1988. So we've been married now over 33 years, so we are able to, I believe, be effective in how we work for the people of our county because we are so interrelated in the various activities that we share.
You've said after 33 years of marriage, you've learned a few things. All the guys, including me, who've been married to the wife, nod their heads because we've all learned a few things. What have you learned?
Well, I've learned that you don't have to be right in every situation. And and that, I'm mature enough at this point to know that you look for a life partner and you grow together. You pray together. You learn together. You support one another. And, we rarely have disagreements that really matter, about things. In most cases, we have consistent and similar ideologies related to our faith, related to our politics. When it comes to inside the house, we certainly have similar ideas about how we raise our family and what they should be exposed to and how they should be engaged. We have 5 grandchildren now. So with the grandchildren, 4 of them are girls. I'm yielding. God gave me 3 boys, so I don't know a lot about raising girls. Probably far too soft on them, far too hard on the boys. We have 1 grandson, and so I've learned how to stay married by being willing to compromise. I think the strength of any marriage, anyone who has been married for any length of time, you have to learn how to compromise in that process and really identify what is really important in your relationship. And we know what's important in our relationship, and so we support one another.
Doesn't she drive a Harley? My question is, do you drive one as well?
Yes, we have two Harley Davidson motorcycles. I've been driving or riding motorcycles for 40 years. My wife started riding a Harley Davidson motorcycle when she was a police captain and she went to special operations. They taught her how to ride a motorcycle, a horse, etc. And so she learned how to ride through the police department. And she's probably been riding now for probably about over 20 years. And so we have these two Harley Davidson motorcycles that, because she's in Washington, D.C. quite a bit, I ride two motorcycles. I ride mine and I ride hers to keep them going. Her schedule just doesn't allow her to ride as often as she would like, but she's an excellent rider, and she's a go-getter. So she rides motorcycles. As I said, she rides horses. She's just waiting on an opportunity, I think, to jump out of a plane. So that's a daredevil that we call a Wonder Woman in our house because we wonder what it's going to be next. So we just go for the ride. It's a wonderful ride that we're on as we are of service to mankind.
You say your wife has announced she's going to run for senator against Marco Rubio. You've said if you run against her, you better come for a fight. Why do you say that?
I say that because my wife is very, very committed and focused. And once she sets her mind or her sights on something, she's going to give it everything that she can. She's going to do her homework. She's going to be a quick study. She's very quick-witted. And she is in many ways fearless and relentless. And whenever you have an opponent in life, whether that's in a competitive sport or some other competition, you better know your competition. And when your competition brings their A-plus game to every game, if you get caught sleeping, if you get caught being lazy, you're going to have your butt handed to you and you're going to lose. So I would say that irrespective of that, I think our American system of politics suggests that, healthy competition is good when people have to earn the right to work for the people. My wife is up to the task, and so as an experienced politician who has now run multiple times, been involved in many campaigns at various levels now for decades, I'm a pretty good student, a pretty good judge of people, and I say to anyone that she's running against, look out. That's a tiger that is about to chase after you. And so the people of Florida, I believe, will be privileged to have someone like them who will serve, who is authentic. She makes her decisions after she's done her homework in the best interest of the masses. And that's the kind of person that you want, that will stand up for the United States Constitution, that will stand up for individual rights, and sometimes be willing to take criticism when someone may not feel that this is the right thing to do. But she leads with her heart. She serves with her heart. And but then she's well trained, well educated now, having served in her third term in the U.S. House of Representatives, having served as an impeachment manager, having been vetted for vice president of the United States of America under the when Biden was going through that process. I know what it was like for our family to have the honor for her to even be considered. She didn't obviously get chosen, but she came close. She came very close. And so I believe that what is for you is for you. And that was not what God wanted for her. He wanted something else for her. And so I believe that as she pursues the United States Senate, I see it as a good fit for her. I see it as a good fit for America. And so I believe that she has the ingredients to be successful in this effort to be the next elected senator from the state of Florida.
You guys are the Barack and Michelle Obama of Orlando. When I hear your story and her story, I'm thinking movie. I see Denzel playing you. I see Viola Davis or someone like that playing her. What do you think about that?
Well, we were asked this question this past Saturday at an event that we were at here in Orlando, and I kind of graciously said, I don't know who in the world would want to play me, but I suggested that it be Denzel. And my wife we've been places when people would say to my wife that Vanessa Bell Calloway from, Coming to America and other things my wife looks very similar to her. But Viola Davis is an excellent actor. And but there was one that this past weekend was suggested, and that was Angela Bassett.
Nice.
So it seemed to be that more people got excited when they said, it would be Denzel Washington and Angela Bassett. Denzel has played a lot of cops over the years, bad and good. And Angela Bassett, what can I say about Angela Bassett? She's fantastic, and she grew up in Florida over in the St. Petersburg area.
Okay. I didn't know that. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
We talked earlier about Orlando. Orlando is not a statewide destination, not a countrywide destination, but a worldwide destination. How does it feel to have it back open again, open for business?
Thank you for asking that question. Orlando is open for business. We are able to open for business now because we did our homework. We put in place sanitary protocols at the world's largest theme parks and other facilities, and at our airport here. We are an international gateway, but also a domestic gateway for tourists, the #1 tourist destination in North America, with over 75 million visitors coming here pre-pandemic. People now want to get out and be really in places where they can enjoy their families and recreate together. There's no better place than that here. So if you come to Orlando from the point that you hit our airport, if you have not had the opportunity where you live to be vaccinated, we're offering free vaccinations on those inbound flights or arrivals here within Orlando before you ever leave the airport, because we want you to be safe as you possibly can be here within our community. And then if you visit our convention center has received the Global Biorisk Assessment accreditation because we have instituted some of the state-of-the-art measures to make certain that your experience while attending a convention here in town is one that will keep you safe from the virus. And so we have a number of pieces of technology in place there. And then we have the support of our businesses here who have voluntarily instituted all types of measures. And so, yes, we are back open. We're as strong now as we ever have been. And through our Safer, Stronger Together campaign, we encourage people to consider us in making their decisions on where to travel this summer and beyond.
Orange County Mayor Jerry Demmings, we could talk for hours. Thank you so much for being on our show, and thank you for being with me today.
Thank you for giving me the privilege to be on the show with you.
You can pray until you faint, but if you don't get up and try to do something, God is not going to put it in your lap. These enduring words were uttered by one of the most energizing civil rights activists America has ever known, Fannie Lou Hamer. Born in 1917, this daughter of Mississippi sharecroppers would grow up to become a relentless fighter for black voting rights, desegregation, and women's rights. Attending and speaking at rallies around the country, she was arrested numerous times and suffered severe beatings that left her with permanent scars and injuries. Undeterred, Fannie Lou Hamer continued getting black people registered to vote. And as one of the founders of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, she was an integral part of the 1964 Freedom Summer, which brought hundreds of college students to the state to work for civil rights. Fannie Lou Hamer's actions inspired countless Americans and helped to fuel the fight that brought about the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Unstoppable by any man, it was cancer and heart disease that ended her fight in 1977. She was 59 years old. That's it for this edition of All Things Men. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, join us on Facebook and Twitter at All Things Men BNC. Till next time.